Very well. This beautiful weather has made it so we can be outside all the time.
It's been nice. Yeah. I hope we have a little bit more of it
Oops.
before the cold comes. Did you say something? I can't hear you.
Just a second. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We've had a couple more people join and I just had us go live on YouTube so the people who watch there can see us also.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody. I'm going to ask you to have a block for today if you think you might need one. And in the absence of a block, just a nice big solid book, that kind that you look at with irritation because you bought it and you know you're never going to read it. So bring that and keep it next to you. So in our practice today, what I'd really like to work on is functional anatomy, by which I mean instead of looking at what's happening in your body in relation to what you think the pose is to be like. So that would be more allopathic anatomy. I'd like you to think about what is going on in your body as you're getting into this pose. What feels good? What feels like a healthy toning? So toning is a contraction of muscle, which is going to release the oppositional muscles. What feels like a healthy, if challenging, contraction, and what feels like it's just not working for you? Because even the idea of working toward the way a certain pose should look is really going to interfere with your experience of enjoying your practice. It doesn't matter if you keep practicing and eventually get to be able to really get into the full expression of a pose or not. It's about how it feels for you. And there's certain things you'll be able to strengthen, and certain areas you'll be able to become more flexible as you practice. But let's start with working really with where we are. Instead of this idea, what I will cue you to be aware of certain things in your body. And I just want you to feel them and not go further than the edge where you're comfortable. Okay. So always, as always, ever and ever, let pain certainly be your guide. If something hurts, there's no point in being in that pose. You don't want to muscle into it. You just want to back off. And the other thing is to think about how your breathing relates to all of this. If you are able to have a nice rhythmic breath, then what you're doing is working for you. If all of a sudden you start holding your breath, or your breath becomes jagged, then you have to pull back too, because your breath is telling you, I'm someplace uncomfortable. So that's what we'll be working with today. And we're going to be doing some little bit of twisting today, but nothing in general that might be considered too much of an advanced or difficult pose, but even that category, you determine for yourself what's difficult and what might be easier. And perhaps notice as well where you have mental difficulty, mental resistance to a pose. And we'll see if we can find out why. You know, we're not going to try to force ourselves to do anything. And the purpose of our twists tonight, they're always good for getting the fluids and the lymph and the gases and the circulation sort of moving again and exchanging energy on a more subtle level. But today we're going to kind of twist so that we can feel like what it is to be untwisted, get in a knot so we feel like what it is to be out of a knot. So come to a comfortable seat on your mat. Bring your hands to your knees. Sit up straight. So imagine your sit bones. You might want to feel them under your booty. And imagine that if you were to draw lines right up to them, there would be your shoulder blades. I'm sorry, not your shoulder blades, your shoulders, the shoulder caps. This bony part here we talked about last week, the hanger here of your shoulder girdle, and this bony top here, it's called the acromion process, but it's like a cap, and then come the deltoids, the muscles. But just feel these bones sort of like little domed caps on your shoulders and corresponding to your sit bones. So feel that nice big rectangle. And then begin paying attention to your breath. Don't try to breathe any special way. Just notice where your breath is this evening. Perhaps notice what you're thinking about. And then come back to the breath. So rather than pushing away what you're thinking about, just returning again and again to the breath, and the thoughts will distance themselves. And notice what you're feeling in your body. Notice if there's anything that feels a little sore or tight. Begin to deepen the breath a little bit. Notice on a more subtle level what you might be feeling energetically in the body. Perhaps you've had a frenetic day trying to take advantage of getting things done before it gets cold. So Rajasic energy, or maybe you let yourself have a Tamasic energy day where you were kind of sluggish and just hanging around in a lounge chair, enjoying the last of the warm weather. And maybe you're somewhere in the middle of that hammock there, in a sattvic feeling, where you're feeling balanced and accepting and ready for whatever comes your way. And now one last thing before we get going with our asana practice. Notice what you're feeling emotionally. See if you can identify any feelings that maybe you haven't quite dealt with today that you've pushed to the back. Allow them to come up and present themselves so that they too can be integrated and smoothed out in this process this evening. And deepening the breath so that it comes into the belly. One more inhale and one more exhale. Take a moment here to look at your torso, to notice if the shoulders are still straight above the sit bones, to notice if the spine is essentially straight, fairly neutral curve in the low back, a little more of one in the neck, but not exaggerated with your chin forward. And always remembering that neutral pose. So that's what we look for, the way our spine is now, rather than rounded or slouched forward. So wide collarbones, shoulders soft, not up at the ears. We don't want that accordion neck. And lots of length between our hips and our armpits. So gently come onto your backs. Straighten your arms behind your head. Perhaps clasp the index fingers together. Point your toes. Get a nice long stretch. And then bend your knees. Separate your feet so that heels are about at the edges of the mat. And we're just going to take some windshield wipers. So first, pull your knees in together. Arms are out to the sides. Make sure your back is not scrunched into the mat, but has plenty of room to open up. Feel your shoulders, the backs of your shoulders on the mat. So the backs of the deltoid, that deltoid muscle, that shoulder muscle, actually is three parts. So the posterior part is what you feel now on the mat. Palms are open. And just gently bend the knees to the right side. And then over to the left. Don't try to push them down. You're just beginning to warm up. So as we do this with the legs, notice how the hip of the leg that's going down is at a different angle than the other one. Notice the sensation and see how it feels. And then stay down here on the right side and pull the left knee up to the right. You're still looking straight up. Your left shoulder is still on the mat. Your arm is out, perpendicular to the length of the mat. And now extend the top leg, which is the left leg, out. You could let the thigh rest on the right thigh, or you can pull the leg a little more up if that's available to you. You could let your foot rest on the block or maybe the side of your foot. The big toe side comes onto the floor. And then there's even the option of bending the knee, left knee a little bit, wrapping the right index finger, the peace finger it's called, around the big left toe, and then stretching a little more. Now, if that isn't something that feels good in your hip, don't do it. So wherever you are here, concentrate on your breath and think functional anatomy. My functional anatomy is how my parts function in tandem as I go through poses. So what's working for you here? If you feel any kind of discomfort in the left hip or the left low back, left side of the low back, you want to either bend the knee or just bring it back a little bit. Give it support. And lift the left leg up. Pull it down, pull the right knee in, knock the knees together, come to your pigeon pose. And go to the left side and the right. And breathe. Bring it in this supine position. You're still able to have a smooth inhale and a smooth exhale. Coming down to the left. You're going to stay here and just bring the right knee over the left. Notice if your right shoulder wants to come off the mat. And if it does, maybe you need to pull your right leg back a little. If the knee doesn't line up with the other one, that's okay. How does it work in your body? And both sides are not going to be the same. So looking straight up, you're going to extend the right leg so it can be over the left thigh. Foot can be under a block. You'll only go as far as you want. You might want to bend the right knee and use the peace finger to extend the leg. And you can extend it without going to full straight too. So all this does is engage a little more of the hip flexors and the IT band, but we're just starting to warm up, so you certainly don't want to push it. So what are you feeling in the left lower back? I'm sorry, in the right lower back and hip flexors. If you're feeling anything down by your sacrum, you want to be really careful there. Think of where it ends. You do not want to pull on the sacroiliac joint. Take a couple breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Get that same flow through the inhale and the exhale. And lift the right leg up. Come back to center, both feet on the mat. Let's bring our hands to our side. Bring your upper arms to your side body. And then bend your elbows so your fingers are pointing straight up. Separate the knees a little hip width apart. Just going to take a bridge pose this way. The point being to sort of realign ourselves to neutralize after what we just did. So inhale, lift up into bridge. Keep the hands where they are. And exhale down. 2 more. This time, inhale, engage those locks. The belly lock, pulling the navel in and up, and the root lock, pulling up the pelvic floor. 1 more time. Lift, pull in, you hold your breath on these locks, and exhale down. Good. Lift the right leg up, and then cross the thigh over the left leg. Scoot the left foot, which is still on the mat, a little over to the right, and lift the foot off the floor. So we're cross-legged now, sort of like an eagle pose, Garudasana. If you would like to double bind, if that's part of your practice when we do eagle, go ahead and see if you can wrap the right foot around the left ankle. If that's not something that works for you, don't do it. Now, keeping your sacrum on the floor, notice that arch in the lumbar spine. We're going to work on lowering it a little bit, on flattening the curve. So how do we do that? We're going to contract the abdominal muscles, and that's going to have the effect of lengthening and stretching the low back. So hands are just gently resting on the thigh. Inhale, contract the abdominals and flatten the back. Exhale, release. 2 more times. Notice where in the arm or the shoulders and upper back you're feeling this. Inhale, flatten, release. 1 more time. Inhale. Do you notice any more strength? And release. Good. Keeping your legs that way. Bring your arms out to the sides in a T and cross with the left arm over the right. So we're going into eagle arms. So maybe you're bringing the backs of your hands together. Don't worry about one being higher than the other. Or maybe you take the bind where the right wrist crosses over the left and the palms come a little more together. Either way is fine. So we are in supine Garudasana. Pull the arms up, bringing the elbows up so they're even with the shoulder. So your right wrist is resting on your forehead. So any rotator cuff problems, any shoulder problems, you might want to go lower. Inhale, flatten the low back. Exhale and release. Now try bringing the elbows and the knees together, lifting the head off the mat. In and out. Open the arms out to the side. Unravel the legs. Come back to neutral. And just swing the legs a little bit to each side. Bent knees. And looking up at the ceiling, take a couple breaths in neutral. Twisting to untwist. Nodding to unknot. We'll go the other way now with the left thigh over the right, moving the right foot in a little more toward the left. Lift the right foot off the mat and double bind if that's what you want to do.
So notice, does this feel different on this side? How does the crossing of the legs on one side in your body feel different than it does on the other side? Inhale and exhale. Make sure you're not holding any tension in the shoulders. And now inhale, push the low back down. Exhale. So what we're doing is really Uddiyana Bandha, that belly lock. Inhale, flatten, lumbar spine is on the mat. Release. One more time. Are you feeling this? Possibly in the right quadricep. Exhale. We're going to cross the arms, this time left over right. And then back to back hands or bind. Pull the hands back so the elbows come about, they would be over the shoulders, except they're in the middle of them. Rest the wrists on the head. Inhale, lower the sacrum one time, pull the knees in, release. Last thing, we're going to lift the head and bring the left elbow and the knee together. Inhale, squeeze everything tied up in knot. Exhale, release, open the arms to the sides. Feet to the sides of the mat, pigeon-toed. Bring the knees in together. Breathe. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more deep breaths. Take in lots of oxygen. And then breathe out anything that's in there that you don't need anymore. One more time. Exhale. And come up to sit. Cross your legs. Tucking the feet underneath the thighs if that's comfortable for you. If there's another way that's better, do that. Bring both hands outside the right leg. So the left hand, you're on fingertips, is probably somewhere between hip and knee. And the right fingers are further out. And if you were to bring them in, they'd be behind you. Walk the hands out a little bit. Keep the left sit bone on the mat so you're not going really far. Now, trick here is to do this without slumping. So lift up again, straighten the spine. So basically we're just rotating it. Lift the left arm up. Exhale. See if you can get the hand flat on the mat. And then slide it, maybe just an inch. Inhale, lift the right arm. See if it's at all possible to come onto the elbow. It's absolutely fine to have the block under the forearm. And again, trying to straighten the spine, keeping the left sit bone as low as possible. Lift up onto fingertips again. Draw the fingers in toward the body. Look behind you. You can use the left hand to grasp the right thigh. Inhale. exhale. So notice how far back you can see. We'll try it on the other side. If your feet are not, whichever way they are tucked, tuck them the other way. So if they're tucked under or if one foot is in front, just change the direction. Hands are outside the left thigh neck. Both sit bones are down. So twisting a little bit, keeping the spine straight. Walk the fingers out a little bit, not much. You'll know when to stop if you're paying attention. Breathe. So the breath shouldn't be more restricted just because you're twisting. Especially if you're paying attention, the diaphragm is still going straight down. Now inhale the right arm up. Exhale, lower it, and see if you can slide onto the hand, pushing it forward. Maybe you're still on fingertips. Left arm up, lower it, just seeing if we can get a little more distance. Straighten the spine, and notice now for me, this side's a lot harder, so I'm not going as far. Inhale up and back to center. To neutralize, we'll do some seated cat-cows, round the back, cross the arms, hold opposite elbows. Inhale up, a little bit of an arch now. Look up, stretch the throat. Exhale, cross with the other arm on top, chin to chest. Inhale. Two more, arms switching, really curl the spine and arch, shoulder blades together. In and out. Now stay here for a minute with the arms wide. Feel the shoulder blades almost touching, and then bring the arms sideways. Notice the shoulder blades. Bring them forward and down, coming on to the middle finger, palms are facing each other. This is anatomically neutral. Notice where your thumb is in relation to the elbow crease and the shoulder. So the elbow creases should be forward now. So if yours, actually they're on a diagonal, but if yours are sticking up to the ceiling, the insides of your elbows, those creases, then your alignment here is not correct. So face the palms together, thumbs forward, and notice that the creases are somewhat upward, but kind of on a diagonal. I hope that makes sense to you, because we're going to work on that some more. Hands down, roll onto your knees, come onto all fours. Now from here, we're going to push back to the right, going only as far as feels good to us, but really pushing back into the right hip. Inhale and exhale. If it feels good to lower the elbows, do so. It might feel good to clasp the hands together. You might get low, you might not. Not to worry. Working with where you are. Inhale back up. Feel that neutral. And then switching the weight a little over to the left knee. And the whole foreleg is going to carry that weight. So we're not putting the weight on the knee now. Over to the left. So if this is a challenge, you might want to put a block under the left hip. Maybe you stay with your arms up, maybe you lower the elbows, maybe you clasp the hands. Pushing into that left hip, opening the hip flexor. Inhale up and just make half circles with your hips. Inhaling and exhaling. And sliding one leg back and then the other, coming onto the belly, lower the head. Bring the hands toward mid-ribs. Pull the elbows in and back. So let's try that again. I want you to notice what goes on with the shoulders here. Let the elbows flail out like they normally do. Now pull them up. So what's happening here while you're working on a contraction with the upper arms and shoulders and upper back? Actually, you're stretching your pectoral muscles. So feel that in the chest. One more time. Let the elbows flail open. Pull them up. And now pull them back a little, trying to slide the shoulder blades down. All right, we're going to fire up the belly again. Uddiyana Bandha, and lift into a baby cobra. Baby, because we're going to keep our elbows bent here. Inhale. And exhale. Now cross the legs at the ankles. Lift the feet. Bring the knees close together. Keep that cross at the ankles. Notice how crossing here changes the energy in the quadricep muscle. Coming up again into a baby cobra. Inhale, pull the belly in. Exhale. Separate the ankles. Cross them back and forth a little bit. And now cross them the other way. Pull the knees together. One more cobra this way. Inhale. Elbows in. Don't go too high. Shoulders down. Pull the belly in to take the load off the lumbar spine. And relax. Inhale. Exhale. Smooth breath. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Now bring your left arm so the forearm is parallel with the mat. So you're on your elbows. Lift your right leg. Reach for either the ankle or the top of the foot near the toes. Lift the leg a little. We're stretching the quadriceps here in half bow pose, Ardha Dhanurasana. Now, before you come up, feel your pubic bone on the mat, and your sacrum, you want to try to push it down so it almost meets the pubic bone. It never will, but that's the action you're going for. Keep the left toes down, and you need to use your abdominal strength here. You don't need to lift the leg high. Just lift a little bit. Now, if you feel pain in your low back, perhaps you're not using your abdominals. Give it one more shot. Pull the abs in. Try to push the foot into the hand away from you. And release. Lower the right forearm, same thing. Left hand is holding the left foot. So if you're here and you're holding the foot and you have pain before you even go up into half bow, functionally, this pose is something you want to sit out. So maybe what you'll do is just hold the leg without lifting it. Inhale, use the abdominal, hold and release. Inhale, lift and release. Good. Cross one arm on top of the other. Let your forehead rest. 3 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Hands under the shoulders. Come onto the knees. And now you are in a modified plank. So your hips are forward of your knees. Your wrists are under the shoulders. Second and third fingers are pointed forward. Separate the fingers nice and wide. Fingertips are pressing into the mat, a little bit of a cupping under the palm. But other than that, the hands are nice and flat. So push the hips back a little bit and push forward. Push back and forward. Now take the left knee, move it a little closer to the right, and cross the right leg over it, lowering the knee to the floor. So we're back in Garuda leg. So you can bring the legs as close together as possible, the lower legs. And if you want to try taking a bind here, it's easier when you don't have to worry about balance. You'll take your left foot, wiggle the toes a little, and cross it over the right ankle. Good. And from here, stretch forward. You're getting a nice psoas stretch through the right side here and back. It's not a big movement. Inhale and back. We're not going to do the arms here because if you did try to do it, you would totally lose your balance. If you want to try it, go ahead and you'll see. Stretch forward, squeezing the legs together. And now walking the hands to the right, only as far as you can. Stretching that left hip, looking behind you over the right shoulder. Bring the chin toward the armpit. Circle the chin to the left armpit, looking over the left shoulder. Bring the chin back to neutral. Walk the hands forward. Untie the legs. Back into modified plank. From here, let's come forward either slowly onto the belly, or if you would like to try a modified chaturanga, hovering here, do so, come down, hands back a little, lift into cobra, and then back onto the knee. Realign. Right knee comes in, left knee crosses over. The knees are not equally aligned. Take a moment to squeeze the leg and let them go. So a squeeze is a lot like a bind or a twist, in that when we do them, it's almost so that we can feel that wonderful sensation of release after doing them. One time, squeeze and release. Good. So pull forward, not a whole lot, and and back. Let's try this with a breath. In, squeeze, and back. In, and back. Now, hips come out a little to the right. We're walking our hands a little to the left, looking back. Inhale, exhale, lower the chin to the left armpit. Circle the chin forward into the right armpit. Bring it forward. Walk the hands forward. Left leg comes back to neutral. Right leg. Tuck the toes. Keep the knees bent. Lift the knees a little bit. And slowly lift the hips up. You can keep your knees bent as long as you need to. Try to straighten as much as feels good. And then lower onto the heels or toward the heels. You never need to get your heels down in down dog. That's a myth. Good. Up onto the balls of the feet. And lower. One more time. Pushing the toes in. Lower. Step the right foot forward and the left. And hands over to the left and swing them over to the right. Breathe. Notice the sensations in the hips. Always keeping the knees bent if this is a difficult pose for you. Walk the fingers forward. Come on to the fingertips. So some of the fingertips might not be on the mat. Straight back, push the hips back, and the back of the skull should line up, straight spine here, Ardha Uttanasana. Hands to hips. Pull the belly in, Uddiyana Bandha, and lift up slowly. And let's take a shoulder roll. So forward, up, back, and down. Two more times. Good. Inhale, lifting the arms up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale. Inhale, up. Take the belly lock, Uddiyana Bandha. Soften the shoulder. Release the bandha. Exhale. Forward with the arms outstretched. Now bend the knees. Lower the hands. Cross the left leg over to the right, behind the right foot, and bring the right to the left side of the mat so the toes are aligned. It should be a shorter down dog than you're used to. And push back a little bit. So how do we not have a rounded back here? You got it. Pull the belly in. If you need to bend the knees a little bit and keep the heels off the mat, that is absolutely acceptable. Breathe, trying to get length in the spine. So you don't want to be looking forward because you want your neck on with the same spinal alignment. And release. And cross the left and the right. Come to a short down dog. Bend the knees. Push your haunches back. Heels are lifted. Neutralizing a little bit here in the hips, looking forward in a crouch. And come up. Cross the other way. Left. No, it's right and, well, it is whatever it is. I can't remember. I hope you do. Okay, so you don't want your feet too far apart from each other. Push the thighs back, bend if you need to. Inhale, engage the abdominals. See if you can do the root lock as well. Lift up to the pelvic floor. And exhale, release. And come back to your regular down dog. Step it out a little bit, stretch the hips. If you need a break, come to your knees in child's pose for a couple of breath cycles. Inhale and exhale. And step the right foot forward. Pivot the left foot. You know what's coming, warrior two. So bring your right hand inside your right foot. Lean your right arm against the right leg. Bring your left hand to the left hip. Pull the left shoulder up so it's facing the ceiling. So the front of your torso is facing sideways. Now using those abdominals, come onto the fingertips. Push the feet into the floor. Lift the right arm up. Lift the left arm up. Warrior two. Inhale. Exhale. Garuda arms. Right arm over left. Bind or double bind. Elbows and shoulders on the same plane. Now you don't want to necessarily squeeze the buttocks. You can engage at the glutes, but you don't want to, if you squeeze the buttocks too hard, then you're not using the muscles I'd really like you to use, which are your abdominals. So pull the belly in and then squeeze the elbows together. Open up in the shoulder. Open back up into warrior two. And now lower your arms behind your leg. Lift the shoulders up to your ears and roll back. Clasp the hands together. Look at your torso. Make sure your belly's not out or your rib cage jutting out. Make sure the left hip isn't bent so that your right hip is forward, but they're even. Right knee tracking over the middle toes. And coming to bowing warrior. Lift the arms a little off your back. Breathe in. As you breathe out, aim the right shoulder inside the right thigh. Don't worry about going too far. Arms will lift. Inhale again, pushing the feet energetically away from each other. Exhale. If you need to come back to warrior two, do so. If you can go a little further, do so. Inhaling. Exhaling. Use your abdominals to push back up. Keep your hands clasped behind your back. So we're going to come in to a Parivrtta Virabhadrasana 2, a twisted warrior 2. So left arm is going to come forward. Normally, it's the right arm and the palm is up. Now it's the left arm and the palm is down. Keep the fingers on the same plane. You're going to lift the right arm back. Don't worry about getting it too high if that causes any pain in the shoulder. But rather than letting your right shoulder sag forward, pull the shoulder back. I'm more interested in the shoulder than the arm. The palm is up rather than down here. Try to get the knee as close to a right angle over the right ankle. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. So here, you can stay for a few breaths. You can come into child's pose, or you can take your vinyasa plank, chaturanga, cobra, or up dog, and down dog. Rest in down dog for 3 more breaths, or child's pose. What is working in your physical body? What is working for your mood tonight? What do you need to do to empower yourself to make any yoga class be what you need it to be? Take one more breath. Back into downward facing dog. Step forward, left and right. And swing the arms again side to side, letting it hang. If you feel your back is rounded, bend the knees. Keep it a little straighter. And hands to the sides. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, lowering into Tadasana. Inhale, big breath up. Engage the bandhas. Exhale, bend the knees, skiers pose, long stretch. Exhale, hands down, stepping back into downward facing dog. Look forward and bring the left foot forward in preparation for warrior 2. Right foot parallels the back of the mat. Right hand on hip. Come onto the left fingertips inside the left foot. And rotate. Twist your torso so the right shoulder is up. It's stacked on the left shoulder. Let the left arm and the left foreleg push against each other. Onto fingertips. Lift slowly. Warrior 2. Open up here. Fine tune your alignment. Maybe you step or heel toe the back foot back a little bit. Pull the tailbone down. Get that kind of scoopy feeling in your low body. Inhale. Exhale. Bring your hands back. Lift the shoulders up and circle them back. So feel the shoulder blades now, very close together. Clasp the hands and then relax the shoulder blades. Feel that there's like a little stone in your hands. They're nice and relaxed, weighed down, but relaxed. And coming into bowing warrior on this side, only going as far as you want. Inhale, pull up, exhale. Keep toning the belly. Inhale, and perhaps exhale a little further. You could rest your left shoulder on your left leg. Inhale. Exhale. Lift up. Keep the knee bent. Back to a warrior two. And from here, we're just going to twist it. Right arm forward, left arm back. Feel like somebody's pulling on your fingers in back of you. So don't let that affect the left leg. If you can, keep the right angle. Pull forward, pull back. Exhale, hands down. Come to down dog. Come to child's pose or take your vinyasa. We will all end up in child's pose after this. Exhale. If you'd like to bring your hands to your feet or the sides of your feet, do that to really, really rest in neutral. If it feels good to you to separate the knees, do that. Inhale and exhale. So we're going to go a little longer today. I'm going to invite anybody who wants to try a side crow. This is a twisted balance pose to do it. And just see how it works for you. So you will come to the balls of your feet in a crouch and then lift up so your legs are straight, you're on fingertips, and then come down about halfway, lift the heels, but just feel the hips up in the air. Good. Now lower the heel. Bring the hands toward the right like we did before and bend the knees. Now flatten the hands and push the right knee so it's leaning against the outside of the left upper arm. You're going to swing your right hip to your right upper arm. So look at your arms here. If you do nothing else, just try this and notice how your forearms are parallel and they are like shelves. And then if you can, maybe lift one foot or the other, both, and come down. It's a hard pose, but it's fun to play with. There's absolutely no virtue in doing it. It's just one of those athletic, fun yoga poses. All right, we'll try the other side. Much harder for me because of my higher shoulder on that side. So straightening the legs and then bending them a little, coming on to balls of the feet. Heels are up, not too high, but we're keeping our knees bent. And we're bringing our hands out. So experiment. Maybe all you do is just bring the left right above the knee onto the right upper arm, yeah. And then the left hip to the left arm. Make sure you're not putting too much pressure on your wrist. Lift up. Now. And on my left side. Cross your ankles. Come to sit on your sit bone. Lift your legs in an Ardha Bandhasana. And then reach your index fingers around your big toes. Stretch your legs out in a boat pose. Your knees need to bend a little bit, that's fine. Try to keep a straight spine here. using the belly muscles you've engaged and worked well to keep you from falling back. And now right foot comes in, left leg is out at an angle. So right foot is inside the thigh. Okay. So from here, we're twisting the body toward the left leg out at the ankle, out at the angle. And this is where you also might want your block to put it on any height you want, right inside your left knee. So it's partially on the thigh and partially inside the calf. And then you're going to bring your right hand toward the calf. So you're taking a little twist here. So you can bring your forearm onto the block with the palm up. And you want to keep it as high as you need to keep your back straight. And if you don't feel you need the block, don't hesitate to use it. You're going to try to reach your right hand toward the outside of the left foot. Don't worry about getting too low. Straight back is what we're interested in this twist. You might take your left hand and bring it around to the right hip bone. Inhale. Exhale, just lower a little more. So go wherever you need to go, high, low, on your back if you need to. You are working with your body parts as they move together to accomplish what you feel you need. Exhale, lift up, other side, right leg out on the diagonal, left foot in. So if you're using a block, put the middle of it right inside your right knee. Forearm is on the block or on the mat, left arm lifts up. Some people might just want to stay here. You're still getting a good stretch in the left side. And you might want to bring your arm a little bit arched so the fingers are pointing toward the pinky toe. Maybe that'll work for you. Maybe you're down already. You may have had enough. And if you can, looking through the arms, trying to get the torso so that the shoulders are aligned. The hips will never quite align in this pose. Inhale. Exhale. Lift it up. Time to come on our back. Slowly coming down. And to even out a little bit now, bring the soles of the feet together in Supta Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. And then bring both knees, keeping the soles of the feet together, bring both knees as close together as you can. Hands can be on the thighs, helping open them up. Then bring the hands to the outside, close them. So they will not close completely as long as the soles of the feet are together. And now let them really, really melt into either side. Make sure your buttocks aren't scrunched. Bring your hands to your shoulders. Lift thoracic spine off the mat, shoulder blades off. And now lower the shoulder blades. Pull the elbows up a little bit. Bring the arms out to the side. Close the eyes. Begin to feel the neutrality. Begin to feel the relief from the twist on one side and the twist on the other. Begin to feel the opening from the belly lock. Allow the belly to swell on the inhale. Not a whole lot. Feel the breath like waves in the body. If you feel a sense sinking more deeply into the earth, you might notice a tingling in your fingers. The wrists of low arms, your toes, feet and ankles. Allow the sense of lightness to radiate through you. Light in the sense of color, of warmth, and lack of heaviness. Stay here as long as you feel comfortable digesting all your hard work. Shavasana is sort of like packing the earth gently around a little seedling you've planted, watering it, blessing it to grow. I will seal this part of the practice with an Om if you wish to join me. Seated position, hands together in Anjali Mudra.